Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to take another look at our P6 practice, and specifically the one that focuses on our inventory management system that allows for us to open up a CSV file, load it into an array of structures, ultimately do something with it, and then return those results to another file. Now, this video assumes that you've been working along with the earlier videos and that I am going to focus solely then on our main in this one, and I'm going to be driving our search structs by string exact, as well as some of our other functions to ultimately be able to determine matches for the type of a product. In other words, I am, for instance, looking for drinks in my products.csv. Now, why is this video different? Why did I break this one out separately? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, we're looking at another field inside of our structure, which we can simply check by looking at our search structs by string exact. And you'll notice here that we have triaged each of the fields we wish to search exactly. And there are some optimizations here that we can do. But what is different between this and the earlier demos is I expect to see some multiple results. In other words, ideally, I would see multiple rows if I, for instance, were looking for a drink. Well, what we can do is we can go back to our main, and we want to look at how we leverage this. And we did this two different ways. In the first example, I simply set up a for loop that allowed for me to display the product that was imported, followed by copying the product to the results products of the ones that actually matched. In other words, that's where we ended up with this weird nested indexing, where the inner index would simply then provide us with the index in the indices or the locations array that would ultimately then be used to identify which product was the match. Well, in a later video, I compounded that into a copy products function that does the exact same thing, but the difference being is that the for loop is not in main. And we can briefly take a quick look at this. Again, I encourage you to go back and take a look at this video if you have not yet done so or are interested. And you'll see that basically now I have one function to call and I have one loop to write. And then I can again leverage our results of either being exit success or exit failure. Again, a little bit more streamlined code, because now what I can do is I can simply just make multiple function calls. In other words, I can import, display, search, copy, and then export. And that is the process that we're going to be doing in this video. The difference, however, though, is I'm not expecting to get a single result, much like the earlier videos. Instead, what I'm expecting to get is multiple rows in my CSV file. And so again, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and walk through this logic, because again, it's a little bit unusual. We're going to go ahead and call first our import products. And we're going to specify our input file as being products.csv. We're going to specify the array that we wish to use, which is again going to be our products. And we specify the @ or the address of our n, because ultimately we need to update that. And then more importantly, that this function returns exit success. Now, the trick that we're going to use is going to be to use the short circuiting feature in C, so that only the function that returns successful will allow the continuation of calls to further functions. In other words, if my import products fails, I will not call my display products. If, however, it returns exit success, then basically what we can do is we can move on to the next step, which will be to display our products. And again, what we will do is we will pass to it our products array and the n, which tells us how many there are. And again, our exit success. Again, we will use the short circuiting operator. And again, what we will not be continuing to the search if the display fails. And so we'll use our search structs by string exact. We will specify the products. We will specify the field name, and in this case, that's going to be type. We will specify the exact match that we were looking for, which should be provided by our argv square brackets 3. We'll provide then the indices array that tells us where the match happened, the n, which tells us how many elements are in our products array, and then the address of m, which tells us how many of our indices were actually found. In other words, how many matches there were. And again, much like before, if it matches our exit success, or in other words, that the function doesn't fail on us, we can continue to the next step, which is to copy those products that matched into a separate array. We're going to first provide the original products array as our sources, the results products as our destinations, the indices, which tells us which ones to copy over, the n, which tells us how many elements were in our products array, and then our m, which tells us how many matches we had. And again, just like before, if there was success, then we continue on to our last and final stop, which is going to be our export products, which is going to allow for us to export our results products to the file name of our choosing. So in this case, it's going to be results.csv. We're going to use our results products, and we specify how many there are utilizing the m, which also corresponds to our matches. And again, if that returns exit success, well, that simply means that all 5 of our functions succeeded, in which case we can probably provide a message to the user that says note successful, followed by a new line. And under the else branch, we just simply say something went wrong. And the reason why we don't have to worry too much about what went wrong is because it was already clarified in an earlier message. In other words, when one of those functions failed, it should have said something beyond just that it was failing. At this point, we can go ahead and build it. We can come out here to the console. I'm going to clear my screen. I'm going to go and run my p6 practice.exe. I'm going to go ahead and pass it my search. And this time I'm going to pass it type, and I want to see a drink. And again, because we're displaying all of it, arguably we could turn that off. We're seeing all of the values from the file. And in our results file, we should see all of our drinks. Now, again, we want to take just a second to make sure that we're on the right page. We're going to look at our products. You'll see that we have a Coca-Cola, Sprite, Pepsi, and Jumex. And sure enough, those are the 4 that we get. Now, because we aren't sure if we've got it right, in other words, we want to continue to test this. We want to be a little bit skeptical of first run success. Let's also see if we find our fruit. And sure enough, we found both the bananas and the apples. And you can see that we have essentially copied over just those values corresponding to our match of our filter. So hopefully you found this video useful. This kind of wraps up the strings portion of it. In other videos, we'll take a look at other search functionality. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you for watching.